Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, we're going to take a look into the Tank Dell injury update after he was involved in a mass shooting in Florida. I'll let you know everything you need to know on that. Also, now that the 2024 NFL Draft is over, we take a full look at the Deshaun Watson trade to see who actually won that trade and some top Texans needs after the draft. I'll let you know what those are and some free agents that might be able to fill some of those voids. But before we get going today, I'm asking you to help me get to 14,000 subscribers. I want to thank everybody who joined us over our draft weekend, giving you the most comprehensive Texans draft notes and news throughout the entire weekend. Thank you to everybody who's hit that sub button. If you haven't already, go down and hit that subscribe button or go to youtube.com/TexansTV. Help us get to 14K. We're 190 away. We are the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube for a reason. So go down and hit that sub button. So the update around Texans receiver Tank Dell was he was a victim in a mass shooting incident that happened on Saturday night near his hometown in Florida. But good news is he only sustained minor wounds, and better news is it looks like nobody sustained major wounds in that incident. Looks like just some minor wounds from most of the people in that incident involved. This was the Texans' statement that came out. We've been made aware that Tank Dell was a victim of a shooting in Sanford, Florida last night, which was Saturday night. He sustained minor wounds, but has been released from the hospital, and he is in good spirits. We are in contact with him and his family, and we'll provide more updates when appropriate, but we ask that you please respect his privacy at this time. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone involved in the incident. And per Aaron Wilson, Tank is, first of all, he's healthy, he's good, no major injuries, so thank the Lord that Tank Dell or anyone involved didn't lose their life or didn't have major injuries that came from this, not seriously injured. And secondly, after we worry about his health and overall wellness, on the football side, Tank Dell should be good to go for training camp and should be good to go for this season. No hiccups there. So thank the Lord that everyone was safe and that Tank Dell and everyone is able to, walk past this and move past this. So I just want to thank everybody who sent their well wishes on our short that happened yesterday. But I know Tank Dell, I know some of these guys watch my videos. I know people inside the Texans organization watch our videos. So in the happenstance that Tank Dell is watching this right now, I want everybody to spam 3 down in the comment section to show your support. Send those well wishes to Tank Dell, him and his family, and everybody involved in that incident. Spam your 3s down below. I want him, if he comes across this video, to see every single person showing support for him in the comment section. Texans fans, I know we're a tight-knit group. We're a close community, and I want him to see that down in the comments. Go down, send your best wishes to Tank Dell and everybody by spamming 3, spam Tank down below. Now, next on today's show, we're going to look at the Deshaun Watson trade, and now that the 2024 NFL Draft is over, all the picks that were involved in that. So now that it's over, here's the complete haul for the Deshaun Watson trade, including, picks that were traded and picks that we used to trade up. So all in all, these are all the guys that the Texans got for trading away Deshaun Watson. Kenyon Green, offensive lineman. Dameon Pierce, running back. Will Anderson Jr., defensive lineman. We used the Browns trade to trade up with the Cardinals. Tank Dell, wide receiver. Stephon Diggs, we used their first-round pick this year to trade back and use that pick to trade for Stephon Diggs. And then finally, Kamari Lassiter, Jamal Hill, and Kalen Bullock. So those are all the people that the Texans got in the Deshaun Watson trade. And the Browns got in return Deshaun Watson, quarterback, and they used the Texans' 6th-round pick that they got for the trade in Jerry Jeudy. So since we added Stephon Diggs and Will Anderson for the Texans, I have to add Jerry Jeudy in for the Browns. So all those 8 guys compared to Deshaun Watson and Jerry Jeudy. Let me know down in the comment section who won the trade. Is it the Texans or is it the Browns? Now looking back at it, let me know down in the comment section. I'll tell you who I thought won the trade in just one moment. It's the Texans. The Texans won that trade because, one, they got rid of Deshaun Watson in the midst of, some awful accusations and reports around the quarterback involved with his, massages that he was getting. And also, they were able to get all that in return. They got Tank Dell. They got Will Anderson, 2 young building blocks for this team moving forward. They also used that trade to get use that pick in a trade to get Stephon Diggs, who's going to solidify this receiving core going into this year. Dameon Pierce, Kenyon Green, still the jury is out on those two. I mean, and then the draft this year, you got Kamari Lassiter, who might end up being your starting nickel corner for this team. Overall, I think the Texans won this trade. And at the end of the day, the Texans ended up getting C.J. Stroud, which really means the Texans won this trade because they got off of Deshaun Watson, and I think they upgraded at quarterback with C.J. Stroud, which I don't think they would have been in position to draft C.J. Stroud, and two, obviously they wouldn't have drafted a quarterback that high if Deshaun Watson was still on the team. So overall, looking back, I think the Texans won this trade all in all. And coming up, I'm going to give you some Texans needs after the 2024 NFL Draft. Now that is all over, I'll get into some positions of need still for the Houston Texans. But first, if you haven't gotten them already, they are flying off shelves. The brand new Texans jerseys, all 4 of them in their glory. We have them with our friends over at Fanatics. When you go to chatsports.com/Texans jerseys, that's going to be in the comment section and description of this video. But you can get the Stingley red. You can get me and producer Tex. We were talking about this one. The whites are icy. The icy whites. That's what I'm calling them. The icy whites for Houston. Maybe my favorite jerseys. Also, these H-Town jerseys are just absolutely sick. You can check them all out. Maybe just go do a little window shopping. See what you like, what jerseys you might want to buy in the future. Just use our link, chatsports.com/Texans jerseys, so Fanatics knows that we sent you. Go and check them out today. Once again, in the comment section and description of today's video. Now, after the 2024 draft is all said and done, here's what the Texans were able to do during it. We got Kamari Lassiter, cornerback from Georgia, Blake Fisher, tackle from Notre Dame, Kalen Bullock, safety from USC, Cade Stover, tight end from Ohio State, Jamal Hill, linebacker, Oregon, Jawar Jordan, running back, Louisville, Solomon Byrd, edge, USC, and Marcus Harris, defensive tackle from Auburn, as well as Ladarius Hamilton, offensive tackle/guard from Michigan. Now, it's still a couple needs for the Texans after this draft, though. And my biggest one right now, outside corner. Because Kamari Lassiter, after doing some more digging, after, looking at him as a player, I think he's going to thrive in the NFL, but inside. I think he's going to be a better nickel corner. I know the Texans already have Desmond King, but I think Kamari Lassiter is going to make his money. He's going to be a really good inside corner in the NFL. I don't know if he's ready to start right now. Now, this isn't saying that he can't develop into a really good outside cornerback. But right now, right here and right now with the Texans trying to win, I think he's better on the inside. So that leaves another hole on the outside. Do you trust Jeff Okudah or C.J. Henderson? If not, there are 2 options the Texans should look at. First up, Xavien Howard, who's been rumored to the Texans all offseason. He's from H-Town. Let's bring the kid home. But he is coming off a pretty good season with the Miami Dolphins where, he was injured for a little bit, but 45 tackles, 1 interception, 12 pass breakups. He's just a couple seasons coming off from being one of the best corners in the National Football League. He could be an option that the Texans are looking at to fill that corner void on the outside. The other one, Steven Nelson, who's been rumored to come back to the Texans a lot. He has familiarity with the Texans defense, the coaching staff, and everyone in the front office. He didn't play amazingly last year, but that continuity and that familiarity with the scheme and the coaching staff could help him out a little bit. Still unsigned, 4 interceptions, 12 pass breakups last year for Nelson, so not a horrible year. Definitely not, CB1 anymore. Maybe a fringe CB2, but he could be an option for the Texans. So I ask you folks at home, if you could only sign one of these guys to be a corner for the Houston Texans, who would it be? Steven Nelson, type SN, Xavien Howard, type XH. Let me know down in the comment section who you would sign. I'm leaning Xavien Howard, but the more I think about it, I wouldn't hate Steven Nelson. But let me know what you think down in the comment section. Maybe we can get a little dialogue, a little back and forth between us two. Next up, inside linebacker. The Texans, I was a little confused when they didn't draft Peyton Wilson. I really thought they could have tried to trade up and get somebody like Wilson who was sliding towards the end of the 3rd round. One of the best linebackers in this draft. I know he had injury concerns, but maybe the Texans feel really comfortable with what they have in Azeez Al-Shire. They have Christian Harris, who really showed out towards the end of last year, and Henry To'oTo'o. They also signed Phillips from the Browns in the offseason. They also signed Deshaun Phillips from the Ravens. But could they look to add somebody else? Now, it's very thin in the free agency market at inside linebacker. So the best option would be bringing back another guy who's a former Houston Texan in Zach Cunningham. They drafted him in the second round, and he had a good first couple years for the Houston Texans. Played with the Eagles last year. I mean, out of everybody that's left, he's the best available by far. But he's still not that good. He's somebody who you don't sign and he's immediately starting for your team. He'd have to fight for a roster spot, fight for a starting spot on this team. But out of everybody who's left at inside linebacker, he's the one that makes the most sense for me if the Texans are looking to add at that position a little bit more before training camp and OTAs. And the last position, I went all defense, defensive tackle. They signed a lot of guys in free agency. Didn't really get anybody in the draft until the 7th round in Harris from Auburn. So I still think they could look to add somebody. I mean, they added 4 guys already on the interior of that defensive line. But if they don't feel confident, if they're still in OTAs, and this is a guy who I don't think will sign until towards the end of the preseason, in Calais Campbell. He's an old guy. You know, he's in his late 30s, so he doesn't have a lot left in the tank, maybe 1, maybe 2 more seasons. I do know Campbell is looking to add a Super Bowl ring. He wants to play for a contender. What better team than the Houston Texans? Played pretty well for the Falcons last year, 6.5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. He's not a scrub by any means. He's a shell of himself, but he's not a scrub at all. He can still give you some good rotational pass rush snaps, some good rotational snaps on the interior of the defensive line. So if they're looking to add somebody, keep Campbell in mind for that. That's all I have for you on today's video. If you haven't already, go follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs for more Texans news and rumors around the team, around also the NFL, NBA, pop culture. I'm your place to be, the dankest memes on the internet. And as always, help us get to 14,000 subscribers and go and subscribe today. I'd say this all the time. Give me 1 week. Hit that sub button and give me 1 week. Let me prove to you why we are the #1 Texans channel on YouTube, the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube, and your one-stop shop for Texans news and rumors.